بسم الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله عز وجل وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Is this the first official lesson in the chapter? We're going to start in Buloogh ul-Maraam, called Bab Ishrat al-Nisa, the chapter of having good dealings and appropriately dealing with and treating kindly women. It's the first chapter in which we'll talk about. We're going to inaugurate today, inshallah, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So for next week, brothers, and I tell everyone, and I constantly remind them of this, bring your books to class. I said it's not a lecture. These are classes. We go through books. We finish them. That's what. Where are you going, Buloogh? Your PDF. These are not a series of lectures. Rather, this is a class where we're going to go through books. That's how people become scholars, and that's how people get strong in their knowledge. They go through books and they finish them. It's not just a series of lecture. Rather, a person gets a book. He picks it, gets it, and you see that the ulama, how they became scholars, they finished books. That's how people became scholars. And you find that the majority of the ulama, if not all the ulama, Ahl Sunnah, they finished Buloogh ul-Maraam. They finished it from the first to now. They finished it, memorized the hadith of it and everything. They finished the chapter, he went through the whole book, finished. Lectures, the ulama do it time to time, but that's not what they would do habitually. They get a book, they start it, finish it. Get another one, start it, finish it. That's how you get strong. That's how a person gets strong. Lectures is done from time to time. It's like an occasional thing. That's done occasionally. But what is done habitually is one starts a book, starts with it, finishes it, especially those books that raises an individual in his knowledge, such as these books in which we're learning now, by the great scholar or illustrious scholar, Al-Hafid Shamsuddin Ahmed ibn Ali Al-Hafid ibn Hajar Al-Asqalani rahimahullah rahmatuhu wasi'ah. As we started the book before Ramadan, we finished Kitab al-Hayd wa Nifas for the women. And likewise, we're going to start this chapter in how Bab al-Ishrat al-Nisa, the chapter of how to treat a woman kindly and having good dealings with her, and knowing how to deal with her in an appropriate manner of what agrees with the Kitab and the Sunnah. Because a lot of us, like we said, we want to start off by two introductions. Number one is our advice to our sisters and giving the introduction. First, we want to say, brothers and sisters, don't forget to bring your books, Buloogh ul-Maraam. You'll find the chapters that's titled Bab Ishrat al-Nisa, the chapter of having good dealings with women and treating them kindly. The Ishrat al-Nisa, or how to live with them. How to live with them. So number one, we start off by saying and directing this wasiyah, or this advice to our sisters. Number one is that majority of our sisters, when they enter the fold of Islam, especially when they are people who have recently become Muslim, a lot of women do not realize why they are covering or why they are leaving off certain matters, and why they are performing certain acts and duties, and who they're doing it for. Number one is that we all were created for the worship of Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala. We know that. As Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in His book, مَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ مَا أُرِيدُ مِنْهُمْ الرِّزْقِ وَمَا أُرِيدُ أَن يُطْعِمُونَ إِنَّ اللَّهَ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينُ. Allah Tabaraka wa Ta'ala says in His book, He says, as we all know, I've not created jinn and ins except to worship me. So that's the basis and the foundation of why everyone was created. Likewise, those who have been created from Adam, meaning from the rib of Adam, is likewise Hawa, who is a female. So Allah Ta'ala created men and women to to worship Him alone. That's number one. So to get straight to the point, because we want to take a lot of time in this, because we want to get directly into the book, so when a woman becomes a Muslim, she has to rectify herself and have her goals and have her mind straight before she can make and aid anyone else. There's a lot of women these days, or a lot of our sisters these days, rely on finding comfort in a man in order to rectify herself. And that's incorrect. She needs to rectify herself before she can rectify and help and aid someone else. And that also in regards to our men, as we'll talk about, inshallah. Her mind has to be straight somewhat. And as we'll talk about, women by their natural disposition are not straight. Because we will talk about that. We're going to talk about that, inshallah. Don't worry. Rather, it's a type of crookedness in which Allah made in women. It's something they can't deny. Because Allah said that He created them crooked. Yes. So it's not the fact that, so you men, you just being... La. That's what Allah Ta'ala said. He made a woman like that. She created her crooked. For a reason, is which we'll talk about, inshallah. Don't worry. But we'll also speak and talk about how it's incumbent upon the man to realize, if he knows that he should be more kind to her. Men take it as the opposite. They'll say she crooked, so that means for me to take advantage, to speak ill about her, talk down to her, and belittle her, and be belligerent, and speak her out of her name. La. It's supposed to be done in a manner so you could treat her more kindly. You understand, everyone? I can't raise the chair. Oh. So number one, when a sister comes in the fold of Islam, it's binding upon her to realize that she was created to worship Allah. That's number one. And that she has to start with her rectifying herself before she can aid and rectify someone else. Because a lot of situations in America, and this is a side point, a lot of situations in America here in the West, a lot of our sisters become Muslim and they'll cover, and it's usually because of a side relationship with a man. And they're covering their face or they're covering their body. You want me to do it? The man. It's all connected with the man. She's covering for the man. She's praying 5 times a day for the man. She's doing certain affairs of, for example, cooking for the man. Everything is for the man. Incorrect. Wrong. Because once that man leaves, and as soon as something goes wrong, what do? You go back to taking off the jilbab, doing everything was impermissible, and then the woman will say, and then you ask the sister, what happened? The man hurt me. Mm-hmm. Yep, so that's the reason why you're in the state you're in now. You did it for who? You did it for who? You did it for the man, or did you do it for Allah? If a woman did it for Allah, this is the feedback because of the microphone. If a woman did it for Allah, Ta'ala, she would know that even though the man might have treated her improperly and dealt with her in a manner that opposed or went against the Kitab and Sunnah, she still will continue in her religion and being steadfast upon that, even if the relationship, not the relationship, but the marriage, even though the marriage didn't work out. I'm not going to say relationship because we need to specify that. Marriage, that if the marriage did not work out, then she continues being steadfast upon her religion. And that goes back to the asl, or the origin we just laid down, which is what? That she does not do any type of act of worship except it's for who? For Allah ta'ala. She covers for Allah. She leaves off putting weaves in her hair for Allah. She leaves off plucking her eyebrows and shaping them up like the kuffar women or the kafir women do for Allah. She's also offers herself and beautifies herself because she's earning the pleasure of Allah. She's trying to make her house comfortable for her husband for Allah. She's decorating herself and getting herself prepared for her husband at night for Allah, because she knows through her husband's pleasure she's going to earn the pleasure of her Lord. And it's not the fact that her heart is tied in towards the man. Rather, her heart is tied in with Allah ta'ala first. That's number one. Because all those acts, they are acts of worship. They are acts of worship. Her leaving off and her doing obedience. Because rewards is based upon two things, as we know. Number one is carrying out an affair. And number two is leaving off what is impermissible. And your person will receive a reward for both. What is to carry out those commands and those duties that Allah has obliged upon everyone to perform. And likewise, leaving off affairs in which Allah has made unlawful. If a person does it for his pleasure and seeking out his face, then he receives that reward. So all those acts that a woman does, her covering, is for Allah. Her leaving off perfume and going outside and people can smell that scent from her. All that she's doing and leaving off those affairs for Allah. Not putting weaves in her hair, she's doing it for Allah. She's covering for Allah. She's doing all these things for Allah ta'ala, not for a man. And that's the number one thing we want to lay down before we start talking about these issues, because they keep constantly coming up, or they keep constantly happening on so many occasions. You find the women, the reason why they left off being steadfast in their religion, because they always say, the man hurt me. A man hurt me. A man hurt me. That's the reason why I'm like this. A man hurt me. Because this is the reason why I'm doing this. Why you got a weave in your hair? Man hurt me. Why are you plucking your eyebrows now and shaping them up? Man hurt me. Why are you wearing tights? Man hurt me. What was your religion for then? You understand, everyone? So number one is we lay down the aqidah, lay down the belief in the correct creed, which is what everyone, a woman, that she does all her affairs for Allah and rectifying herself first, because the aqidah and the pure aqidah in which the companions were upon, who are the salaf, that is what's going to help rectify your mind. Because you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ have focused on this affair, purifying the ubudiyyah and the worship of Allah for 13 years in Mecca. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ was trying to get the people's mind straight and building their ma'rifah of Allah, building their knowledge of Allah first, which is the most important. Because if you establish that and deep-rooted in the people, then what comes after it is going to be what? It's going to be easy, and the people are going to practice it because they know they're doing it for Allah. So once a person lays down his foundation of his ma'rifah, of his knowledge of Allah, ta'ala, and having good dealings with his Lord, then she's going to have good dealings with the people. For if a person has good dealings with his Lord and has knowledge of his Lord, and the foundation is deep-rooted, then what comes as a result of it, the rest of the acts of the slaves will be what? Correct. In all the branches and all the subsidiary matters, meaning in the branches, whether it be in. And when we say branches, we mean by that which is covering herself, covering her body, leaving all perfume. Those are from the fudur'. That's from fiqh. That's not from the usul, that's from fiqh, that's from the fiqhiyat, or the furu'iyat, from the subsidiary matters of the branches. Covering up, leaving all perfume, treating her husband nice, being respectful in the household to her husband. All that is from what? the branches. But those acts will not be correct unless the what? The foundation is correct. If the foundation is correct and she learned her aqidah, then likewise, we said, the rest of her actions are going to be what, everyone? Are going to be sound and upright and correct. And if it doesn't work out in the end, she still has her usul with her. She still has her foundation with her. Because at the end of the day, okay, brother, I didn't work out. I'm still going to be an upright Muslimah because I did it for Allah. And I'm going to continue my life in being upright with my Lord, even though you treated me bad. Understand, everyone? Is it clear? I'm sorry. Yeah, inshallah. Yeah, I'm taking. طيب. So that's number one. Number one is what? To woman, for the sister to know that everything she does, she's doing it for Allah ta'ala. She's not doing it for men. Because that's a problem in a lot of relationships, and you'll find sisters that were strong in their religion, or they manifest to us being strong in their religion. Then, like we said, because of a sour relationship, she turns back on her heels and she goes back to that old state that she was prior before her being Muslim, which is an evil state. And that's a plot of shaitan, especially for our women, for our sisters who we're concerned about. That's a door in which shaitan leads the women down the road of destruction. To a lot of them, because of sour relationships. It's a door from shaitan. As far as men, of course, we're plagued with something else, which we'll talk about on a later occasion. We'll talk about that, inshallah. A lot of men, if it don't work out with one woman, they just get married again. A lot of us, our fitna is not in there. But for the fitna, when the trials for our sisters, it is that, a man. So number one is her worship is for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's number one. The other one, I don't know what happened. Put it right there. So number one, like I said, her worship is for Allah ta'ala, and a woman tries to rectify herself before she can aid and rectify someone else. That she works on herself and have her mind straight and trying to educate herself and knowing her rights as likewise the rights of her husband before she gets married. So number one, we stick with this. I want to keep going off, just stick to the points. Number one, she purifies her worship for Allah. It's number one. Number two, for the introduction, in which we're going to start off, inshallah. For our sisters, is how to build herself and strengthen herself in her aqidah, in her belief, and in herself. And the only way a woman is going to achieve being confident and self-esteem is through having a proper aqidah. The only way you're going to have self-esteem, having confidence in yourself, is having a strong aqidah. Having a strong foundation. And the only way you'll achieve happiness is having a sound aqidah, and also likewise what necessitates from that, which is what? Applying it in application, and also doing those abundance of righteous actions. So that introduction, and also reminding the sisters and the brothers to bring their book next week, Buloogh ul-Maraam. Don't forget, if you have the PDF, then have the PDF on your phones if one does not have the book in their library. then bring the PDF or download it in your iPad or your phone or what have you, and try to use it and utilize it and bring it to class along with you, because, like we said, we want to go through this chapter and finish it. It's called How to Treat the Woman and Be Kind to Her and Have Proper Dealings with Her. That's number one. So that's the introduction, which we want to remind everyone so they could be ready for next week if they're not prepared today. Bring this book, because I told everyone last week what we're going to start in. So for next week, likewise, inshallah, bring the book with you. That's very important, because we got to finish and go through these books so we can try to increase ourselves in knowledge. Play it. So we'll start off in the chapter. It's called Bab Ishat Nisa. The chapter, if you look in your books of people who brought their books along with them, Bab Ishat Nisa, the chapter of how to live and how to deal with the women. And now this is geared towards our brothers. So now we've changed it towards the women, towards the brothers now. Because we don't want the sisters to feel, subhanAllah, it's all just like he's coming at us, coming out our necks. He's coming to brothers' necks. Now, so we start off by saying this. As even, there's a whole chapter of speaking about how to deal with women, how to treat them kindly, and how to deal with them in accordance with agrees with our religion that's in the boundaries of the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. وعشرة المعروف حتما أوجبي نص الكتاب وأحاديث النبي فقد روي عن النبي من قوله خيركم خيركم لأهله. Treating a woman properly is obligatory. Treating her kindly and nice is obligatory. It's obligatory. Treating a woman kind. Don't think I'm looking at you. Does somebody look? Why are you looking at me? What you trying to say? You understand? Okay. Treat a woman properly. I'm just looking at you, but I'm addressing everybody. So عشرة المعروف حتما أوجبي نص الكتاب وأحاديث النبي. Treating a woman kindly with ma'ruf. What I want to talk about the meaning of ma'ruf is obligatory. By the Book of Allah and the ahadith and the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's starting to stimulate my sugar. You guys can excuse me. He says, as it was narrated upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his statement, the best of you are the best of you to his family. And likewise, a person having sabr and ihsan, as much as he's able, is obligatory upon him, just like it's obliged and it's obligatory upon a woman, obedience to her husband. No. Excuse me. So, number one, and this is directed towards the brothers. A lot of us, and when we were Muslim, a lot of us thought that Islam, based upon of how, and this is also a recommendation, or just something that's recommended for all, rather it's obligatory upon us, all of us. How the West raised us was wrong, right? How we were raised and how ideologies of how we looked in women, how we deem women, and our perspective and our minds is warped. A lot of us were raised in order to say women are just pleasurable play dolls. That's it. We enjoy ourselves and then get out of here and we move on with the next. A lot of us have that mentality. And it's a big joke. Women are a big joke. A lot of us have that mentality before we were Muslim. And they just, because that's what they look like. They just wear, they like to show their breasts and all that. So you're just for sex. That's it. Nothing more, because that's what you show to me anyway. So you show your breasts, your butt, and all that other stuff, and your beauty. You're just a sex toy, that's it. Then move on with the next after I'm finished. So you don't have really any respect for her like that. Just a sex toy, that's it. So a lot of us have that mentality. Some of us were raised with some morals by our parents. If we was raised by our parents or our mothers or our fathers, and they instilled qualities of respecting women. But usually, for us in America, especially in the West, the way they are and way they show and display women is as if they're a sex toy. You can look on the billboards, a naked woman. If you look on how they advertise commercials, naked women. Everywhere you look, women are wearing short dresses, tights, whatever. You name it, it's like some type of sexual attraction or sexual call every time you look and turn. And they think it's freedom. Rather, they're slavery and they're taking advantage of the woman. But they think they switched it where shaitan makes the kuffar say, no, you're free and liberated. Yeah, you're free and liberated. You're more open now to be taken advantage of. So that's how we would perceive women. And a lot of women probably, I have something? Oh. And a lot of women likewise think that men, likewise in the same light. A lot of them are raised with the mentality that men are just oppressive people that beat up on their women and they slap them, they treat them improperly, and they don't know how to treat a woman, and they're always raising their voice in the house, and they're always getting drunk, and they're always just smacking a woman around the house, and they just treat them improperly, and they're real tyrannical and belligerent in their houses, and they have this type of mentality of men. And that men are only good for basically to get what you can get out of them, get what you want. Or as they say, what's the statement they used to say before? What is it? You got to get what you got to get what you want. Use what you got to get what you want. Use what you got to get what you want. And also likewise, we was raised likewise, and a lot of us, we'll talk about inshallah, we were only raised, women were raised for one man to be with one woman. That's it. And they're not trying to erase that mentality out of their head. That's the West pumping that poison in your head. Otherwise, the asl and the origin, even the kuffar of the past, they knew that polygyny was something that was the norm. There was nothing weird about it, nothing strange. It only became strange when we came with these new century imperialism of America. That's when they put it and demonized it and deemed it to be something disgusting. Whereas now you see how Allah has exposed these people here by them legalizing homosexuality. But we're the ones who so-called what? We call to marriage and people being married and not to have premarital relationships and not to have these homosexual relationships and to grow families and to grow love amongst each other by having and getting married. But we're the ones that's what? We're the ones that's so-called weirdos and strange. But they're even going to the next step, which is now to have what? They're calling towards, if you look on it in the news, they even now starting to have the boy and the man relationship. They're trying to legalize that soon. Yes, it's going to get more weird and more weird and more weird and more weird. They're trying to do that now with consent. If the little boy is in agreement with being intimate with a grown man by their consent, then they can do it. Yes, it's going to get worse. Yes, it's getting there. But we're the weirdos. You guys want to have 4 wives? Weird, you're weirdos. Like, so all those Western ideologies and us, ya ma'ish al-ikhwa, all of it we need to erase out of our heads and start a new page and try to purify our minds of how a lot of us were raised and cultivated. Some of us, like we said, alhamdulillah, some of our parents have instilled some type of respect and morals in our heads. That agrees with Islam, and we need to keep that. If it goes with our religion, we keep it, and we hold on to it. If it opposes it, we have to rid ourselves of it. As we'll talk about, inshallah. Don't worry. Throughout the lessons, as we break it down, we're going to expose every type of way we were raised in order to rid ourselves of it so we can improve our relationships with our homes and our families. So these type of perception, or how we used to perceive women, we have to erase ourselves and our minds of it, how we used to perceive women. And likewise, women and our sisters, they need to erase how they used to perceive men before Islam and don't carry that type of way of thinking with them over in Islam. Because a problem here in America with a lot of us is that we carry so much ways before we were Islam, we can't shake it. We can't rid ourselves of it. And that's the problem why we have so many issues after Islam. It's because of the baggage that we had before. And we never want to rid ourselves and try to improve ourselves by ridding ourselves of that disgusting baggage that we had in kufr, or while we were in the state of kufr. And we just carry it on thinking that it's manly, and it's not manly. Anything that opposes the kitab and the sunnah is not manly. To smack a woman is not manly. To call out her name is not manly. Being a man is how the Prophet ﷺ was. That's a man. That's it. You base everything based upon how he dealt with his women. That's a true man. The Prophet ﷺ used to put up with a lot of harm from his wives. Yes, he did used to put up little things because, we'll talk about in the ayat, he said that Allah Ta'ala has already told you That there's going to be things from women that's going to take place you're not going to like. He's already said that. Allah has told us that. We'll talk about in the ayat. There's things that are going to take place from women you're going to not particularly like. But how to deal with it, it's in the book and the sunnah. As we'll talk about inshallah. It's going to come there. All right, brothers? So, number one is, for our brothers, we have to rid ourselves of how we perceive women. They're not just sex toys to be played around with and taken advantage of, and they're a big joke. And laugh. You understand? So she's, you know what she's there for. You understand? A lot of us have that mentality. Erase your mind from how we used to perceive women before we were Muslim. That's binding upon all of us. Also, number two is what we're going to start off right now in the chapter. Notice that Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar had mentioned this chapter called Bab Ishat Nisa, chapter of how to treat women, how to treat them, and how to deal with them, and how to have dealings with them. Notice the word, he used the word al-ishra, or ishra bil-ma'ruf, as we'll talk about inshallah. Well-ishra, the word ishra, or mu'ashara, is is dealings. It means like dealings. How to interact, how to deal, how to have those dealings, or mutual dealings, or social dealings. That's the meaning of what they call ishra or mu'ashara. In the Arabic language, the word ishra, ayn, sheen, ra, ta, marbuta, or you can use the wazn on wazn al-mufa'ala, which is mu'ashara, which is both correct. Mu'ashara, also like, well, if I could write it on the board, I could. The word mu'ashara, don't worry about it. Mu'ashara, also like we said, translated, means that to deal with, how to interact with, how to what? Live with. It's comprehensive for all those meanings. So notice that we want to also take time out to recognize. Notice our religion, well, alhamdulillah, but in every aspect has explained to us even how to have relationships. And this is to increase our iman that our religion is the haqq. Why? Because the Christians and the Jews don't have this. They don't have this. In their Bible, there's no details like this. We have pure wahi, revelation, to teach us step by step how to treat women, and likewise vice versa, how women to treat men, which increases our iman to let us know that our religion is the truth. Because, like we said, the Christians and the Jews, they don't have these authentic details. Authentic. Because we have to say that. Because their book, they don't know whether it's revelation or if it's a man-made opinion that's been incorporated and made up and newly invented and incorporated in their religion. So us, we have the details. And we have to mention this because of Sheikh Abdurrahman al-Sa'di. Always mention this. He said, for every opportunity you have, take time out to mention the mahasin of the religion of Islam, the good things of the religion of Islam to keep your faith strong. From them is how detailed our religion is in every aspect. Every type of affair you can think of, whether it be in politics, the aspect of how to govern the country, or how to deal with your wife, or how to deal with your children, or how to deal if you have more than one wife, or how to deal with your financial affairs, and also on how one deals with his neighbor, how to deal with his wife, how to deal with his mother, how to deal with his brother, how to deal with his sister. Anything you can think of, there's a detailed revelation text for it. How to go out in the bathroom, how to go out the bathroom, what to say when you put your clothes on, what's impermissible as far as clothes, what type of clothes to wear, how a woman decorates herself, how a person wears their hairstyle. A lot of Muslims don't know. Because we're going to talk about those texts. You're not supposed to be having these mohawks and these dreads emulating these kuffar out here. And also likewise the women cutting the side of their hair, getting mohawks. We'll talk about all that inshallah. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited, there's a hadith called Naha an al-Qaza'. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited the qaza'. That's a hadith to show that how to wear our hair. There's a text for it. The Prophet ﷺ prohibited the qaza'. The qaza' is to have one side longer than the other. That knocks out all those stupid trends that the Muslims wear of mohawks, high top fades, whatever. It's all knocked out the box by that one hadith. Because one part is longer than what? The other. So our religion teaches us all these affairs, right? Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa. It teaches us all those affairs. And it shows that our religion is the haqq, about how detailed it is in every aspect. So, number one, we say, getting back to the word ishra. The word ishra was obligatory, as Allah Ta'ala says, and Allah uses this word in His book. He said, "Ashiru hunna bil ma'ruf." He said, have dealings and interact with the woman bil ma'ruf. And that was made in what they call sighat al-amr. And it was made in a form of what is a command. Now listen to the ayat. Allah Ta'ala in this ayat is saying, deal with them. I command you to deal with them in kindness. I command you. It's ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf. I command you to deal with them and treat them kindly. It's as if the ayah is saying, I command you to treat them kindly. I command you to treat them what? Nice. Listen to the rest of the ayah. Listen. If you detest something, Allah is telling you, you will. You're going to find something where your wife is going to come up short in, because this is how I created them. Listen to the ayah. فَإِن كَرِهْتُمُوهُنَّ فَعَسَىٰ أَن تَكْرَهُ شَيْئًا وَيَجْعَلَ اللَّهُ فِيهِ خَيْرًا كَثِيرًا. One ayah. أَفَلَا يَتَدَبَّرُونَ الْقُرْآنَ أَمَّا عَلَى قُلُوبِهِمْ أَقْفَالُهَا. Do they not contemplate the Quran? Those upon their what? Their hearts, those locks. طيب. Allah is telling you already, when you get married, you're already going to see something from your wife. You're going to what? Dislike, because He said, I created them like this. If you detest from her something, maybe perhaps you will detest something and Allah will make a lot of good in it. So what is Allah telling the brothers here? What is He saying? Treat the woman kindly because they are crooked. And because of their crooked, it's binding upon you to treat them more kindly. And every man knows, even it's a shame that we have the wahi, even the kafirs know that if you treat the woman, she even might have something, some type of way, or something might happen from her, or some type of conduct and behavior that you might be irritated from. And then if you see the man treat her kindly, what will eventually happen? The wife will start respecting her. The woman will start respecting the man. The kuffar kafir men know that. We got wahi right here, pure wahi. Babe, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have said that. Babe, I'm sorry. You know you did that. Babe, I'm sorry. I shouldn't. Once a woman starts to see that, eventually, if she's a good woman, she'll fall in line. My husband puts up with so much stuff from me, subhanAllah, I gotta respect him. Allah Ta'ala is already saying that, what? Treat them kindly. I already created them with some type of crookedness in them. So that makes you should treat them even more kindly. Be kind to them. You understand, everyone? Ashiruhunna bil ma'ruf. If you despise something from her, maybe Allah Ta'ala making that thing that you detest what? A lot of good. One ayat. Just one. There's more. Listen to what Ibn Kathir says in the tafsir of this ayat. Listen. He said, طَيِّبُوا أَقْوَالَكُمْ لَهُنْ وَحَسِّنُوا أَفْعَالَكُمْ وَهَيْئَاتِكُمْ بِحَسَبِ قُدْرَتِكُمْ كَمَا تُحِبُّ ذَلِكَ مِنْهَا فَفَعْلَ أَنْتَ مِثْلَهُ كما قال الله تعالى وَلَهُنَّ مِثْلُ الَّذِي عَلَيْهِنْ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ. Well, Ibn Kathir mentioned said in the tafsir of this ayat, which is in Surah An-Nisa, ayah number 19. He said, treat the woman kindly. It's a command. It's not an alternative, maybe I should. La. Brothers, it's in a command form. And this is a reminder for myself also. It's in a command form. It's Allah Ta'ala is commanding and saying, I command you to treat them kindly. I command you. And in the ayah, Allah Ta'ala is, if He's saying to you, I've already created them with some type of crookedness. You're going to find something in her, the relationship with something from her you're going to detest. We're not talking about shortcomings in the salat. We'll talk about that, inshallah. I'm not talking about the 5 duties of salat. Some things can't be tolerated. But certain small behaviors and how she is in her behavior, can be tolerated, and you can have sabr for that. But as far as going out exceeding the bounds by her not praying her five salawat, that's something different. I'm not talking about that. We're talking about little discrepancies, maybe in her akhlaq and in her character, certain times. Then it's binding upon you to have what? Have patience. طيب. So this is what Ibn Kathir says. I command you, Allah is saying, I command you to treat them well. He said, طَيِّبُوا أَقْوَالَكُمْ. He says, decorate and also make it good and wholesome, and also likewise make it tayyib. He says, decorate and make your statements beautified. Talk to them kindly. Also likewise, make it good, your actions toward them. And also likewise, and this is where a lot of people come up short in, a lot of us. Also likewise, decorate yourselves. You can. Alhamdulillah, I think our communities, we probably go to the extremes in that probably sometimes. You'll see one hair woofing. No, I'm just joking. But at any rate, also likewise, decorate yourself for them as much as you're able. Just as you love for that from her, because you want her to do that, he says, then likewise you do similar. As Ibn Kathir says, كَمَا تُحِبْ ذَلِكَ مِنْهَا فَفْعَلْ أَنْتْ مِثْلَهُ. Just like you want that from her, then you do similar. As Allah Ta'ala says, and they have rights, meaning the woman, just like it's upon them, also likewise certain rights. Meaning to carry out for the husband. Like for her, she has her rights, just like it's upon her to carry out her what? Her husband's rights. So that's what Ibn Kathir mentions in light of the ayah. So right now we're just talking about the title of the chapter. We didn't even get inside the chapter itself yet. You understand? طيب. Likewise, the Prophet ﷺ had mentioned and said, the best of you, the best to his family, and I'm the best to my family, as we know the hadith. And that was from the akhlaq. And I'm going to read from our Shaykh Zayd ibn Hadi al-Madkhali, Hafidhullah Ra'ah, where he gave a good explanation of this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, Shaykh Zayd, Rahimahullah, Rahmatu Waziyah. As he says, وَكَانَ مِنْ أَخْلَاقِهِ عَلَيْهِ الصَّلَاةُ وَالسَّلَامُ أَنَّهُ جَمِيلُ الْعِشْرَةِ دائم البجر يداعب أهله ويتلطف بهم ويوسعهم نفقته ويضاحك نساءه حتى أنه كان يسابق عائشة أم المؤمنين رضي الله عنها وأرضاها ويتودد إليها بذلك قالت سابقني رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فسبقته وذلك قبل أن أحمل اللحم ثم سابقته بعدما حملت اللحم فسبقني فقال هذه بتلك. To the end of the hadith. He says that Shaykh Zayd ibn Hadi Madkhali Hafidhullah or Rahimahullah وجزاه الله عنا وعن المسلمين خير الجزاز. He said that the Prophet ﷺ from his akhlaq, he says that he was Jamil al-Ishra. He used to always treat his wives kindly. And he also used to always da'im al-bashar. He used to be open, and he used to be a person that he was comfortable being around. Alayhi salatu wassalam. And he used to play with his family, and he used to be gentle and kind with them, and he also used to spend on them. And he also used to make them laugh. He says, even, you'll find that the Prophet ﷺ had raised Aisha, as we know the hadith. He raised her. And that he used to love her, and he used to show her love. In the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he said that in the narration that we know that the Prophet ﷺ used to race me, and I raced him. He raced me and I raced him, and I beat him. He said that was before I became a little heavy. I started having a little bit of meat on my body. She was a little skinny at that time. He said then I beat him after. ثم سابقته بعد ما حملت اللحم. Then I beat him again after I had a little bit of more meat on my body. He says then the Prophet ﷺ on occasion he beat me, and he said, this is for when you beat me before. That the Prophet ﷺ, he said he used to gather his wives all in one night in the house. يبيت عندها رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم. He says he used to gather his wives. كل ليلة, meaning that he used to spend every night, in this context here. that he used to spend the night with them, he gave them their rights, and he used to eat with them. And then sometimes he would also what? He would gather them together, eat, and then they would all go to their houses, and he would spend his night with that particular wife. And وكان ينام مع المرأة من نسائه في شعار واحد يضع عن كتفيه الرداء وينام بالإزار وكان إذا صلى العشاء يدخل منزله يسمر مع أهله قليلا. To the end of it. He says that وكان ينام مع المرأة, that he would sleep with his wife. He would sleep with his wife. He says that في شعار واحد يضع عن كتفيه الرداء وينام بالإزار. That they would sleep in one sheet, or in that type of living quarters or that sleep quarters, they would sleep and lay down there, and he would use his rida, his robe, and I think he said that he would try to cover her up sometimes just to treat her nicely, and you take his izar and he would wrap up with it. وَكَانَ إِذَا صَلَّ الْعِشَاء يَدْخُلْ مَنْزِلَهُ. That he used to come, and if he prayed the Isha, he would come to his house, and he said he would spend a little bit of time with her, speaking to her after Isha. And that's the reason why the Prophet ﷺ used to detest after Isha speaking in the masjid with the people, unless it was some type of benefit. As soon as Isha was what? Done, he would split to go home to spend time with his wife. And he used to detest talking after what? After Isha, except that if it was what? Something beneficial. Something beneficial. But for the most part, he used to detest what? Talking after Isha to the people, in order to spend time with his what? With his family. So then it says, إِذَا صَلَّ الْعِشَاء يَدْخُلْ مَنْزِلَهُ يَسْمُرُ مَعَ أَهْلِهِ قَلِيلًا. He would what? He would stay up a little bit late with us just to speak to them a little bit, then he would sleep. And that is due to the hadith, the ayah where Allah Ta'ala says, verily in the Prophet ﷺ is a good example for one to follow. To the end of that ayah. طيب. So that is just, and there's numerous examples of the Prophet ﷺ, how he used to what? How he used to have good akhlaq and good manners. And from them is when the jealousy of his wife and his wives, especially Aisha radiallahu anha, where the Prophet ﷺ, we know, the plate had came from one of his wives had cooked for the Prophet ﷺ. What happened? Well, Aisha, what did she do? She took the plate and she threw it on the ground. And I think a lot of people these days will say, you stupid dumb broad, how could you do a stupid thing? What the heck is wrong with you? Are you an idiot? To the end of the last stupid words that a lot of us say to our families. Right? Prophet ﷺ, what did he do? What did he do? As soon as Aisha took the plate, threw it on the ground, what did he do? What did he say? Like a lot of us would say, stupid broad, you idiot, you dumb bee, to the end of it. I'm just being real because that's what our people do. Because we got to go inside the details of what our people do. Because all of it is stupid baggage that we have before Islam. That's all it is. Stupid, dumb baggage that we carry with ourselves, thinking it's tough and it's not tough. It's being an idiot. You understand? You took a plate, she threw it on the ground. طيب. What the Prophet ﷺ do? You're close. No, that's the Athar Umar ibn Khattab. Prophet ﷺ said, this is the jealousy of your mother. He picked up the plate, didn't pay her no mind, ignored it, picked up the plate, said, this is the jealousy of your mother. And that's it. Meaning that I know my wife loves me, and it's just jealousy. You understand? My wife has jealousy, she's jealousy. So I just took the plate up, mashallah, and gathered the plate and just kept walking. Meaning that I know my wife loves me, I know she loves me. So the Prophet ﷺ picked up the plate, gathered, and just kept it moving. And that was it. There wasn't a big drama, fitna, argumentation in the street, making a scene to the end of it. You understand, everyone? Giving bad da'wah to the kuffar by seeing a covered Muslim wearing black and a man wearing the thobe arguing and cursing. As I've seen certain episodes like that, and it looks so awkward. To see a woman in black covered, and then you see a brother in properly trying to practice the sunnah arguing in the street. It looks so strange and awkward. And it's embarrassing. You understand, everyone? طيب. So that was the chapter in which we inaugurate. I'm wanted to talk about this. Ooh, it's 3 o'clock. So that's the chapter which we started the chapter with. And we'll stop here, inshallah, brothers. For next week, inshallah, we're going to start in the chapter itself. No. We'll start off in the chapter itself. And don't forget to bring your books so we could go through the chapter. It's really, really important that we go through this chapter. Like we said, because this benefit for all of us is not just geared towards the sisters, as a lot of people think these lessons are just for the women. No, it's for all of us. To know how to deal with our spouses. How to deal with our spouses in the house properly, in the boundaries of Islam. And like we said, we hope that all of us try to start off with a new page by realizing, like we said, a lot of us, we know that our religion that we're upon, Christianity, Judaism, all the other religions, Allah Ta'ala gave us tawfiq to what? Realize that those religions are religions of falsehood. They're false. The religions that have been distorted, changed by man. And men still to this day are incorporating their opinions in these religions and changing them. Until Allah gave us tawfiq to open up our hearts to know that those religions are what? False and batil. So just as we knew the religion we were upon prior before we Muslims was batil, then we have to also come to the realization that a lot of ways we were raised with were also likewise batil. How we were raised and our ideologies and how we perceive and how to do certain things in our relationships also has to be rectified and changed. And that's geared towards all of us, even the sisters. So any questions about the lesson, we'll talk about now. How did that happen? Huh? No, the chapter is the book, how, I don't know how they translate Ishatini Sabab, the chapter of how to deal with the women, or how to deal with them, how to interact with them, how to treat them. It should be one of those translations. It's not the chapter of marriage. That's something different. I'm going to cut it. You found it? Sisters, if you can, if you have a question, just slide under the door, inshallah. Is your family over there somewhere? Oh, okay. No, I was asking that because if your family was over there, they send you a text for just to make it more quick, that's all. Just to move a little bit more expeditiously. Huh? Are your family over there? If they want, they could put it under the door, they could send the text to you, just to make it quick. So we can move a little bit more expeditiously. No questions? Oh, alhamdulillah. Jayyid. So sisters, also likewise, don't forget consistency. Come to class and be consistent is important. Don't forget, bring your books. Say it again, what happened? Can't get the book? You get the PDF. All you gotta do is Google. The phone. Library of Congress should have it. Maybe you could get it and copy it. Just do it like that. It should be, Buloogh ul-Maraam should be in the Library of Congress. They got every book in there. I'm surprised at some of the stuff they have in there. Anything else? Yeah, can you write it down? One book, right? One book. Buloogh ul-Maraam is actually is more than one volume, but that's it. Buloogh ul-Maraam by Hamzah Abdur-Razzaaq. Put the translation down. Anything else, brothers? The books from the Arabic class? I don't know. I'm not sure. You could get a PDF and ask one of the brothers to copy it. Just copy it. If they have it on their phones. If it goes to a printer, they could just plug it in with their USB cord. What do they call it? USB cord? Plug it into the... No, not a flash drive. Or you could use a flash drive. You could do it to your computer, download a flash drive, and then put it somewhere on a computer or something like that. They could use a printer. But usually, well, I know there's people, they just copy it. They take their USB cord. Now they have the automatic. You could just press it, and it sends the program to the printer, and it just comes out. But certain people do it like that. I'm done, Sabr. Jazakallah khair.